Hey everyone, welcome to another week of office hours. Got a lot to talk about today. After a couple of weeks of being off, on vacation, seeing family, just kind of slow summer. That's how it goes. Got back in the swing of things last week, um, and yeah, I guess back in campaign mode. And so, one of the things I wanted to share real quick, because it's kind of a last minute thing. If you subscribe to my newsletter or email list, I guess it's not really, I guess it's a newsletter. If you subscribe to that, you have probably noticed me talk about an upcoming event for this month and next month. And finally nailed down a spot. Originally wanted to do it at Zephyr Lodge. That fell through. Um, had to pivot and was going to do Trailbreaker in September, but because I had an event there in June, I know the protocol, I know the ropes. Just decided because of short notice to do it there again. So it's going to be next week, next Wednesday. I told you it was short notice. Next Wednesday, 5:30. We have the area till close. We'll probably stay till 8:30. I mean, if people are still there, want to stay, I'll stay as long as I need to talk with people. Um, but at Trailbreaker, the cider place on Matson, near the STC Bank branch, um, and yeah, so hope to see you there. Um, Again, if you're not subscribed to my email list, go to my website, travislscott.com, and feel free to just sign up there. There's lots of ways to sign up. That way you can be in the loop. Also, this Friday, my walk and talk, 8 a.m., meet at the parking lot at Rocky Hill Park, and just plan to walk for about 2 miles and chat about things, and probably last about 30 to 45 minutes, just enough to get outside. We will have to keep an eye on the air quality. If the air quality is bad, I will cancel it. Hopefully, it won't be. We got a little reprieve earlier today with the rain, but it seems like it's back. Looks like it's 114 and unhealthy for sensitive groups, which is me. I have asthma. My son has asthma. So we're in that category. Anyway, want to get that taken care of. Hope to see you guys. Hope to see everybody there at the event next Wednesday. Again at Trailbreaker, and it's going to be. I'll just go ahead and mention this too. It's going to be in the large production area. So when you walk into Trailbreaker, and the bar is kind of right in front of you, and there's glass, and you can see back in the back where they produce the cider. There's the large fermentation tanks, things like that. They actually do events back there. It's a very large area, and that's where we're going to be. And I say we because it's a joint event with other candidates. We're going to have Andy Kurtz, Andy's going to be there. A couple of other people may be out of town, may not be there, but hopefully we'll have some of their information there. So you got rack cards, signs if you want them, donation envelopes, things like that. We're going to try to have 6 tables set up because there's going to be 6 candidates there. And each table will kind of have each candidate's info, swag. I like to call swag snow, shit no one wants, because it's kind of really what it is when I go to events. Anyway, buttons, stickers, rack cards, signs, it'll all be there. We're not going to broadcast like it's a political event. Trailbreaker doesn't like that, and I can understand that. And so the stuff will be there to pick up if you want it. It'll be very subtle. Signs will be against the wall or wherever we can put them off to the side. We don't really want to draw attention that it's a political event because they don't want that, and I'm cool with that. So that's just what to expect. Just come in there. The candidates who will be there will just be kind of hanging out, We'll just be mingling. You can buy drinks at the bar. You will have to have your own tab. Uh, this isn't a huge campaign budget that we get for city council. And that, a lot of it comes out of our own pockets. So anyway, that's that. Hope to see you there. Hope to see you Friday at 8 o'clock, air quality permitting. A couple of other things I want to talk about today. One is, man, I really hate politics. Just, I tell you what, man, I've learned a lot. At the end of the day, win or lose, I've met a lot of great people. And I've had a chance to really get out into the community, talk with people I may not have otherwise talked to. I mean, I've worked from home since I moved here, and it's been really hard to meet people. And then the pandemic hit. That was basically 2 years of seemingly isolation, and it's just been really hard. Everywhere else I've been, I've made friends through the places I've worked. Um, and that hasn't been the case here. So it's been really, really good, to get out, to meet people, um, and I've really appreciated that. I've met some great people. Plan to meet more great people at the event I mentioned, on the walks on Fridays. I'm going to be doing canvassing soon. After, I'll probably do my neighborhood here in the next couple weeks. Again, air quality permitting, and then starting the week of September 11th, we'll probably start getting out into other neighborhoods. Get past Labor Day holiday. I have a conference in Boston first week of September. Things are just kind of busy and crazy, but I know we're getting down to it. Really have until mid-October. Ballots go out around that time. And so campaign really needs to be buttoned up by then. People need to know who I am, what I'm about. But just wanted to, like I said, I've learned a lot. It's not what I expected. And the politics of it are just, I mean, it's crazy. And I don't think you can escape that, no matter what size town you live in. I mean, I grew up in a very small town, as I've mentioned before. We had politics and sports, politics and the school board, and mostly politics and the school board back then were around sports. And now it's about library books, just so stupid, which is why I'm running. Because who would have known that a library would be such a triggering topic for people? It's insane. I can't believe this is 2023, and I can't believe the crap that we're dealing with as a society, as a country. Never thought I would run for city council, but here I am. The world's gone mad, and that shit's creeping into Liberty Lake, and that's why I'm running. And that was the main reason. That's why I got off the sidelines. And now that I'm off, it's really been about understanding what people care about. I know what I care about, as I've lived here, but it's also about exploring all sides, to every story. And I'm just taking a note here, and talk to a lot of people about different issues, and I'll get into that in a minute. I want to stay. I mean, I think I have ADHD, as you can probably tell. Just jump around a lot, but I want to stay on the topic real quick of hating politics. And here's why. I think we're at such a divisive moment right now. Nobody wants to talk. They want to stay in their cozy little echo chambers, where no one's wrong, everyone's right. Even if they're wrong, most of the time they're probably wrong. And I don't know if this is just a product of the social media environment, where I feel like people are afraid to talk in person, um, or maybe they've lost the ability to do that. Um, but again, more on that in a minute. But I was meeting with a volunteer of mine who has helped me put out signs around the area, and he had, and you probably noticed the signs at the Conoco, um, right in the heart of Liberty Lake. And so he stopped in to ask about that, and asked if he could put one of my signs up, and signs for one of the other candidates. And the person there said he would have to talk to Mike Kennedy, that Mike decides whose signs go there. When I heard that, I thought it was complete bullshit. If you are the owner of the Conoco, you decide whose signs can go on your property, not someone who's running for city council themselves. So to me, I thought that was bullshit. To me, that's bullshit politics. Um, that's some of the stuff I just cannot handle. Which also leads me, since we're on the topic of Mike Kennedy, he did call me today. He noticed the event that we have going with 6 select candidates. He said he was confused about whether it was for all the candidates or a few, and I said it's for a few. Their names are listed on the invite. He said he didn't get the screenshot of that part of it. Just a little odd, but anyway, I clarified that for him. He might have been invited if every time I see his signs, they're right next to my opponent's signs. So there's coalitions. That's fine. We've got a coalition. Got people who are, who I feel share the same values as me, who are also running, and those are the people who are going to be at this event. And so that's just the way it goes. It's nonpartisan. I'm nonpartisan. I don't know if that could be said about all of the candidates in the race, especially the other faction. I pretty much could guarantee I know where they lean. But anyway, it just seems like that's the kind of political bullshit that I just can't stand. I also feel, when it comes to Mike Kennedy, that he kind of has his hands in everything, wants his hands in everything. And so, as I think about that, I don't know if it already is. I haven't. I just thought about this today, and it's something I'll look into further to see if it even exists. I don't think it does, but if it doesn't, I will look into making a motion, making a rule that if you're on city council, you cannot be on any boards, any local boards, like the library board, planning commission, planning board. To me, it's just a bit of a conflict of interest. I feel like those people are appointed because of their experience and because of their objectivity. And the way I see it is their role, they're the experts in that given area. Their role is to be experts and to provide the city council with information, to help educate us so that we could make educated decisions on policy. And I think if you are on city council and a board, I feel like you can be a little bit too influential. And I feel like there's a conflict of interest. And I don't think that should be allowed. So, like I said, I'll look into it. I need to research it. But if that is not a policy, I am going to propose that it is a policy for those reasons. Okay, and on to the next thing, where I mentioned, okay, my wife texted me and said, pretty sure you can't be on a commission and a council. So if that's the case, that's good, because I think that's how it should be. Anyway, had a conversation with Joe Frank from Greenstone this morning. We met at the New Love Coffee Shop, which that's the first time I'd been there. It's a fairly new coffee shop over close to the River District. Nice place, really cool. 2 stories. It has an upstairs, which has got a really nice view uh, of things, looking north. Um, and this is where I mentioned earlier, I want to explore all sides of issues. And when I'm on city council, not if, but when I'm on city council, it's going to be important that I have these relationships with people like Joe and other people in the community, because we are going to have to work together to make things happen, to make Liberty Lake the place we all want it to be and remain. And I think remain is key there. Um, and our conversation didn't dive. And so here's a little bit of background about me and my approach to things. I'm really a relationship first person. That's why politics are hard for me. Um, in a way, because I feel like you're kind of thrust into talking with people before you've built a relationship. And to me, that's the opposite of how I like to do things. So when I met with Joe today, we didn't talk a lot about specific issues. I don't know if he expected that of the conversation. We both went in with really no agenda. It was just really a chance to meet each other. I've seen him around. I know who he is. I've seen him at the food truck events at Rocky Hill Park on Thursdays here in the summertime. But I've never really had a chance to sit down and talk with him. And I know that Greenstone and the development and kind of the future of Liberty Lake is a big issue for a lot of people, and rightfully so. But intentionally, I did not want to dive right into issues and topics like that. I really wanted to get to know him, understand like where he's coming from, where he came from, what's his experience, where's he been, what's he done, and really start to build a relationship, because to me that's important. And I think, and I'll just kind of share this. I'm a former recruiter, corporate recruiter. I have a podcast called Winding Road Careers because I've pivoted so many times in my career. I just felt like it's something that maybe I could help other people with, and by interviewing people along those lines, could help other people with their career pivots. And one of the things that I am a big believer in is networking before you don't need it. And what I mean by that is so many people, I feel like they think network is a dirty word. It's not, if it's done properly. I think it's a dirty word to some people because they feel like they only do it when they need to. And other people on the receiving end feel like people are only coming to them because they need something, and that it's selfish. And most of the time it is. Um, and so one of the things I talk about on my podcast a lot and just in general is get out there. I'm active on LinkedIn. This Facebook stuff, I'm not on it a lot. I post pictures of my family so other members of my family can see it. But LinkedIn is really where I'm most active professionally. I have 11,000 followers there. That's where I am active, and that's where I talk a lot about networking, because that's a good place to do it. And I talk about doing it when you don't have to, meaning engaging with people, jumping into conversations, adding insight, congratulating people, just being human, and showing up, being visible, and helping people out. I mean, every week I probably talk to somebody that I've never met before. They randomly reach out and they say, "Hey, I'm doing this thing. I'd love 30 minutes of your time to ask you some questions." And I almost always say yes. Because if I'm in that situation, I want other people to say yes. I wrote a book in 2020, and I asked a lot of people if I could interview them for the book. Everyone said yes. And that meant a lot to me, that they would take the time to be interviewed. by me and talk to me and help me learn. And so I feel the same way for other people. And I think you've probably heard kind of the saying of, it comes back to you 10 times over or something along those lines. I don't know if it's exactly that, but really the more you give, the more you get, especially if you're not looking to get. And that's how I feel about relationships, about life in general. And that's why this politics thing is so foreign and so weird to me, because there's some fake elements to it, phony elements, and that's just not me, as you can probably tell. Um, and so I met with Joe. We had a great conversation. Um, I learned a lot about his background, where he's coming from, kind of how he thinks, why and as a former recruiter, I'm good at asking questions. I'm good at digging deeper, and I'm good at reading people. And I really just wanted to kind of remove any tension that might have been there and really just have a conversation. And we did. I learned that he's lived here in Liberty Lake since 1994, since he was a kid. Uh, Parts of Apple Way were a dirt road. He used to ride his bike on that. He has a vested interest in this community. And I think that's a good thing, a very good thing. I mean, does it seem like they have their hands in everything? Probably at times it does. Have they made mistakes? That they have, and everyone does. No one's perfect. Um, but I think the important thing that I've realized, even prior to talking with Joe, is that there's just, and I was interviewed by a reporter for the Spokesman, and I mentioned this very same thing to them, that I feel like there is a big gap I mean, I think everywhere, but in Liberty Lake, I've noticed there's a big gap when it comes to information and the dissemination of information and accurate information. I mean, I feel like because we operate in echo chambers like we do on social and little groups and cliques and things, that a lot of times we're with like-minded people and similar worldviews, and someone can say something, could be completely wrong, but everyone takes it as truth. And that's how things spread like wildfire, true or not. And so I feel like there's a lot of miscommunication, a lack of education around growth plans and what's happening in Liberty Lake. Um, I think it would be good to, I don't know, maybe find a way to meet with Greenstone from time to time, in a group, and not in a, like a, I don't want it to be a situation where everybody gangs up on them, right? I think it just needs to be open dialogue where everyone can talk and everyone, most importantly, can listen. That's why we have two ears and one mouth. And and whether I am on the city council or not, I prefer to think that I will be. If for some reason I'm not, I would like to find a way to figure out how to better communicate things, educate the community at large, um, about things. Make it easier for the community to voice their opinions rather than through city council meetings, and sending emails or coming to the city council meetings live and standing up. There's just got to be a better way to get feedback and just communicate as a community. Facebook groups. I mean, I belonged to a Facebook group when I first moved here, hoping I could meet people. It worked. I met Mayor Chris right away because we both realized that we're Bengals and Reds fans. And so she was one of the first people I met when I moved here, and we kind of bonded over sports. But what I found is it was just a bitch fest, and I just couldn't stand it. It was toxic, and it was just not a place that I wanted to belong. And I couldn't understand why people could have so much to complain about in such a fantastic, remarkable place like Liberty Lake. So I got out of there. I didn't want to listen to it anymore. It was toxic. And so Facebook groups aren't it. I want to avoid that kind of like keyboard jockey type of environment. But anyway, I think there needs to be a better way to educate the public, to provide feedback, for their feedback to be heard, but also for the feedback and a chance for, in this case, Greenstone to communicate their visions for things. Because I learned a lot today in my conversation with Joe. I'm sure this won't be the last time he and I meet, but again, I wanted this conversation to be the first steps toward building a relationship and a working relationship. And so I usually take a long view, a long game approach, an infinite game approach. And that's how I'm approaching running for city council. That's how I feel all politicians should approach things. I think the biggest problem right now is most don't. They treat it as a finite game of winning and losing. And if it were a finite game of winning or losing, the country would no longer exist at some point. Because that's not how an infinite game works. That's how a finite game works. There's an ending. Someone wins and someone loses. I want to be on city council because I care about my kids' future. I care about the future of Liberty Lake, not just while I'm here, but long after I'm gone. What gets set today will impact generations to come. And that's a big responsibility. And it's not about winning or losing. It's about thinking about others and thinking about what world, what city, what kind of place do I want my kids to live in when they're older, when they're my age. That's what I think about. And that's why I approached my conversation with Joe today in a long game approach. So we talked about a few things, that have come up over time, but didn't get too deep into it. But as I get out there, as I talk to more of you, I want to better understand what you're frustrated about, especially about growth, what you're concerned about growth. If there's any way that I can dig into something, research something, connect you with Joe. He said during our conversation that he's willing to talk to anybody who wants to talk about future plans or current plans or things that are going on. He seemed very open to communicate and to listen. And like I said, he grew up here. He has a vested interest in the future of Liberty Lake, which is a good thing. I mean, we could have some, big California developer that came in and concreted over everything, built things up, got out of town, and had no regard for the quality of life and the people of Liberty Lake. And we're only concerned about their bottom line. And I do not feel that Greenstone is that way. I don't. So I think that's Echo stop. I think that's why I have an Alexa, and I even changed the command to ECHO because it seemed to not trigger it as often, and now it did. Anyway, I know we're at time. I appreciate those of you who showed up today, those of you who are watching the recording. let me know if you have questions, comments. Really, I want this office hours to be interactive. I would love for people to come and ask me questions in the comments. I don't really like to just stand up and talk all the time. I did that for a podcast, and that's why I interview people now, because I don't want to be the only one talking. And so even though you can't talk, you can be heard through the comments, and I would love to answer your questions or talk about a specific topic that you'd like to hear more about my views on. But anyway, come with some questions next week. It will be on next week, the Tuesday the 5th. I will not be having office hours. I'll be traveling that day. But then it will be back on September 12th. So again, be sure to go to my website, subscribe to my email list so you can be in the know about events. Again, next Wednesday, big event at Trailbreaker here in Liberty Lake. 6 of the candidates for city council will be represented. They all may not be there because of prior plans and commitments, but they will be represented in some way. You will be able to pick up signs for everyone, hopefully, and any other kind of information. We'll try to gather that from them ahead of time to make sure that they are represented in some way. So would love to see you. Please consider coming out for that. I'm going to also do another event in September. I prefer events over door to door. It's less intrusive. It's less, I don't know. I don't like interrupting people. So would love to see you. Come out, join me on the walk this Friday at Rocky Hill Park at 8 a.m. And that's what I got. See you next time.